What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Testify with Ty. So glad that you guys decided to tune in with me for this episode. This episode is called Purposely Planted, and early in the morning, before I even got up to spend time with the Lord, He spoke these words to me as if He was standing right in front of my face. Purposely planted, purposely planted, purposely planted. And in the dream, it was repeated 3 times. I immediately woke up and wrote it down because I didn't want to forget. I had planned to study, but my daughter woke me up and she needed me, so I paused to take care of her, but decided to come back to it later. So at first, I didn't understand what it meant, but about a week later, it all started to make sense. Even before I fully grasped the meaning, I began doing my own research. I looked up the definition of purposely planted, which means intentionally placed or fixed in a specific position. So I began to ask the Lord, what does this mean? What could this mean? Lord, what are you trying to say to me? So then I started to reflect on everything that had happened in the previous weeks. There was a lot of change happening, a lot of turmoil, misunderstandings, confusion, and just the enemy was attacking in any way that he could, right? So because of all of that, I wanted to do what Ty normally does, and that's just remove myself from the situation, just throw my hands up and disconnect and isolate myself. But then that's when the Lord gave me the revelation. He revealed to me that I was purposely planted right where I was to cultivate growth and carry out God's plan. I was purposely planted to influence others with what the Lord has given me. So I started to think and ponder on that and started to write down, okay, Lord, what have you given me? What do I have that I need to share with other people? I'm purposely planted. I'm cultivating growth. I'm writing all this down, but still kind of confused as to what this actually means and how I need to actually apply it, right? A lot of times, because of conflict or tough circumstances, we can get overwhelmed by emotions and lose sight of our purpose, the purpose that God gave us to bring Him glory. So instead of staying focused, we give in to our feelings. And of course, that's exactly what the enemy wants. He wants us to forget our assignment. So as I'm writing all of this down, purposely planted, I'm cultivating growth. I'm called to carry out God's plan, and I'm asking God, what's the plan? What do you have for me? What do I need to do? And even as I'm writing this down, the Lord gave me another revelation from a gardener's perspective. So gardeners place things intentionally so they can grow to their fullest potential. For example, planting potatoes next to tomatoes, that's not recommended because both are highly, susceptible to disease. In order for seeds to thrive, they must be intentionally placed near plants that support their growth. So, for example, potatoes thrive next to beans, lettuce, and spinach, and they help each other reach their full potential. So that's what the Lord was revealing to me. I'm purposely planted in the position where I am in my church, on my job, in my family, to cultivate growth and carry out God's plan. Spiritually, God plants us in places where not only we can grow, but where we can help others grow as well. He's placed in us exactly what someone else needs, and they hold what we need as well. We are called to impact those around us in a positive way so they can grow. Even when things are hard, we must remain consistent. We must keep growing and use what God gives us to lift others up. And that's what the Lord was telling me. He was telling me, Ty, use what I have given you for others. Cultivate growth in a way that is impactful, in a way that I have told you to. Now, sometimes the Lord will tell us things and we just act like we didn't hear it. Mainly for me, I know, because sometimes it can be uncomfortable because it's something that I'm not used to doing. But I've learned, that I had to be obedient and do what the Lord says, because at the same time the Lord is telling me all these things, the enemy is alerted, right? So you have to be cautious of people and things that try to stunt your growth, or people who stay close only to compete with you and dim your light in any way that they can. I'm reminded in Ephesians 6:12 that it's not the person, it's the spiritual wickedness in high places. So the enemy uses people, but it's never just about the person. It's always the spirit behind it. So today we're going to look at one of my favorite stories, Esther. She was chosen to be the queen. I mean, the story is amazing. She captured the king's heart with her beauty. He fell in love with her. And long story short, Esther gained so much favor with the king that she could just ask for anything and receive it. But when the decree came down that all the Jews were to be killed, Esther, she didn't act right away. She turned to prayer. She and all the Jews fasted for 3 days, and then she went to the king uninvited, which could have cost her her life, because back then, if the king didn't request your presence, you didn't just show up. However, Esther, she went anyway. So she had a dinner. This is the end of the story. They had a dinner and revealed Haman's evil plot, and he was killed, and the Jews were saved. So this story reminded me that God had purposely planted Esther in a palace to save his people. The situation was not ideal. I mean, she could have been killed. There are a lot of things that could have happened, but her purpose was greater. Esther had an assignment from the Lord. So imagine what could have happened if she let fear, frustration, or confusion stop her. She was rooted in God's word, planted for purpose to carry out his will. So how does that apply to us today? We must recognize that we are purposely planted wherever we are for a reason. Whatever season that we're in, we are in that season. We're purposely planted for a reason. God is with us just as he was with Esther. Even when death was looming over the Jews, he was still with them, because God is a God who will never leave or forsake us. So whether in our churches, workplaces, families, communities, we are placed intentionally to grow and to fulfill God's plan. So I'll say it, as my bishop once said during a Sunday morning sermon, he said, infect and affect the atmosphere where you are planted so that God may get the glory. So that's all I have for you guys today. I hope this episode blessed you. Remember to stay rooted, stay hopeful, and don't forget your testimony matters, so tell it.